The Torso Killer. It's a name that evoked horror and fear in the minds of New Yorkers in the 20th century. Active in the 1970s and early 1980s, Richard Francis Cottingham's gruesome crimes left a trail of mystery and terror through the streets of New York. Known for his brutal killings and disturbing ability to elude capture, Cottingham's crimes shocked the nation. For years, he hid behind the facade of a seemingly ordinary man, but there was a dark, violent predator whose complex psyche and chilling actions would only be fully understood years later. He hunted vulnerable women, attracting them into his grasp before committing acts so horrifying that they are hard to comprehend. His trademark mutilations left investigators perplexed for years as he kept out his reign of terror undetected. Imagine the chilling double life he led. By day, he was a seemingly ordinary family man and computer operator. By night, a predator with a hunger for violence. The stark contrast makes his story all the more interesting, yet disturbing. In this investigation, we will deeply explore Richard Cottingham's mind, examining the threatening motivations behind his crimes and their destructive aftermath. We will uncover how a man could have such darkness and the chilling legacy he left behind him. On 25th November 1946, Richard Francis Cottingham was born in New York City. He was the oldest among four. His family relocated 2 times to New Jersey. First, in 1948, it was moved to Dumont, New Jersey, and later in 1956, it was moved to Riverdale, New Jersey. During his adolescence, Cottingham built up a fascination with bondage pornography, a fondness that later manifested in his criminal activities. In 1964, he graduated from Pascack Valley High School in Hillsdale, New Jersey, and he was a member of the cross-country and track team there. After his high school, he was able to secure a position at Metropolitan Life Insurance Company in Manhattan. His father was a vice president there. Starting from the mailroom, he advanced to the role of mainframe computer operator after completing relevant courses. In October 1966, he transitioned to a similar position at Blue Cross Blue Shield Association, where he maintained employment until his arrest in 1980. Particularly during his tenure at Blue Cross, Cottingham worked alongside Rodney Alcala, another serial killer operating under the alias John Berger, but there is no evidence to suggest they were aware of each other's criminal activities. In May 1970, Cottingham married and eventually fathered 3 children. However, his domestic life was far from stable. His wife filed for divorce in April 1978, referring to abandonment and mental cruelty, including his refusal to engage in intimate relations after the birth of their 3rd child, and also she complained of his habitual late-night absences. She initially withdrew the petition following his arrest in May 1980, but after that, the divorce was finalized as he was convicted in 1981. His early life appeared unremarkable, marked by steady employment and family commitments. But under this guise of normalcy, he harbored deviant sexual tendencies and an obsession with domination and control, hints of the violent behaviors that would later earn him the label the Torso Killer. In the early 1970s, the shadows of terror emerged over Long Island as 5 women were found brutally killed. Investigations of each victim uncovered that it was the work of a methodical killer. On one quiet May morning in 1972, the lifeless body of Mary Beth Hines, a 21-year-old nanny, was found in a swampy river. A few months later, the chilling pattern continued with the discovery of Laverne Moy, a 23-year-old mother of 2, choked in the same creek. These murders continued, and each was more horrifying than the previous. In July 1973, Sheila Hyman's husband returned home to find her dead. Her children were saved only because they were away at summer camp. Months later, Maria Emerita Rosado Neves, who was only 18 years old, was found strangled at Jones Beach, her life cut tragically short. For decades, law enforcement was left clueless. All these murders shared a disturbing consistency: brutality, strangulation, and precise execution, but no leads emerged. Each case, though isolated, painted a haunting portrait of a predator who killed with cold deliberation, leaving families shattered and communities terrified. It wasn't until years later that the truth would surface. All 5 murders were the work of Richard Cottingham. a man already infamous for his gruesome crimes. His confessions would reveal not just the acts themselves, but the mind of a killer whose calculated brutality eluded capture for so long. Richard Cottingham had been arrested twice before his final arrest in 1980, yet each time he managed to escape any serious consequences. The first time he was arrested was in 1975, when he got behind bars for attempting to kidnap a woman in New Jersey. Though he was detained, the charges were dropped, and he was soon released. His second arrest was in 1977, when he was caught assaulting another victim in Manhattan. Yet again, due to a lack of any solid evidence, he was released, further delaying justice, and this allowed him to continue his killing spree. The walls began closing in on Richard Cottingham in May 1980. His arrest came after an attempted assault at a New Jersey hotel. A woman's screams drew the attention of hotel staff, who further alerted authorities. As police arrived, they found Cottingham amid his attack, his calm attitude simply contradicting the frightening scene. From his belongings, a leather gag, handcuffs, 2 slave collars, a knife, fake pistols, and a stockpile of prescription pills were found. In April 1978, after his wife had initiated divorce proceedings, he kept a room locked in a basement apartment of the house in which they lived in Lodi, New Jersey. After his initial arrest in 1980, from a locked room and in the trunk of his car, police found personal effects which they traced to several of his victims. The damning evidence not only linked him to the ongoing assault, but also tied him to a series of gruesome murders. The puzzle pieces that had eluded detectives for years began to fall into place. For years, Richard Cottingham's crimes were buried under silence. Cottingham claims to have started killing as an adolescent and has claimed to have killed as many as 100 women. Cottingham often sought sex workers who were in their late teens to mid-20s, and it is believed that he has killed people in Florida, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Baltimore. He would usually approach his victims in bars, drug them, take them with him, and bind, gag, torture, and stab them before killing them by strangulation or asphyxiation. He took with him jewelry and other personal items belonging to his victims like trophies. The breakthrough began with a discovery that changed the course of those 5 unsolved murders. In 2022, over 5 decades after the murder of Diane Cussick, a 23-year-old dance instructor who was found strangled in her car, progress in DNA technology opened a case long gone closed. DNA recovered from the crime scene eventually matched Cottingham's profile, detangling the thread that linked him to a spree of 5 murders on Long Island. The revelation caused investigators to reopen other unsolved cases from the late 1960s to the early 1980s. Careful interviews with Cottingham revealed details about the murders of Mary Beth Hines, Laverne Moy, Sheila Hyman, and Maria Emerita Rosado Neves, information only the killer could know. Each confession came with eerie precision, illustrating the calculated manner in which he selected, stalked, and murdered his victims. He used to cut off the heads and hands of his victims. That's why he's called the torso killer. The breakthrough was a testament to persistence and technological progress, but it also showcased his chilling lack of remorse. Cottingham's readiness to revisit those horrific crimes highlighted the depth of his corruptness, transforming cold files into graphic, haunting realities. With each new detail he revealed, Cottingham's legacy as one of the most terrifying serial killers in American history arose, which left investigators and the public brawling with the magnitude of his fear and trembling. To the world, Richard Cottingham appeared as a common man. He was a computer operator who lived in suburban New Jersey with his wife and 3 children. He somehow maintained a stable career and pictured himself as a family man, and he was quite successfully masking his dark side. Yet behind this mask was a predator driven by an insatiable urge for horrific violence. By night, Cottingham preyed on vulnerable women, often targeting sex workers in the seedy streets of 1970s New York City. His calculated methods were particularly grotesque. In some of his cases, he cut off the limbs of his victims to conceal their identities and discarded their remains in ways designed to haunt and confuse investigators. What made Richard Cottingham's dual life so chilling was how diligently he sectionalized his existence. To his colleagues, he was dependable and unremarkable. To his neighbors, he was just another suburbanite. But he had his secret apartment in Midtown Manhattan, which served as a dark cover where his grotesque acts unfolded. This paradox between his public persona and his crimes perplexed those who knew him, underscoring the twisted nature of his dual life. His ability to effortlessly fuse into society while committing monstrous acts serves as a stern reminder that evil can sometimes wear an ordinary mask. Cottingham's long-hidden act of barbarity finally surfaced as he confessed to multiple murders and revealed horrifying details that had haunted investigators and families for years. His guilty plea was part of a calculated agreement, shocking the public as he provided chilling revelations about his crimes. Each confession was a step closer to closure for victims' families, many of whom had endured decades of unanswered questions and grief. In court, Cottingham detailed how he selected his victims and committed the brutal acts that earned him infamy. The process was not only emotionally harrowing for the families, but also bittersweet. While they finally saw their loved one's killer held accountable, the explicit descriptions of the crimes reignited their pain. For law enforcement, his admissions marked a significant victory. The meticulous work of revisiting cold cases, analyzing evidence, and securing confessions brought resolution to cases that had languished for decades. Officers expressed both relief and satisfaction at bringing justice to those who had been silenced. Cottingham's life sentence ensures he will remain behind bars, sparing society from further harm while serving as a stark reminder of the darkness he inflicted on so many lives. These were the haunting details behind Richard Cottingham's chilling crimes and his eventual downfall. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more